Hello, family. Good morning. This is There Is More Thursday. So I wanted to start in a place in the Bible where there is a really good story, and we're going to hit 3 points really quick because Marissa only gives us 3 minutes. So I'm going to start at John 5:1. This is the story of Jesus down at the healing pool. So verse 1 says, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Okay, so first thing I want people to know is my Jesus likes to party. Okay, so my Jesus is going to festivals. My Jesus is going to weddings and turning the water into wine. Like, my Jesus is turned up. So let's move on. So Jesus is in his tuxedo t-shirt, and now he is there in Jerusalem near the Sheep Gate, a pool which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Okay, pause. So there are 5 colonnades surrounding this pool called Bethesda. So the number 5, the spiritual meaning of the number 5 is a renewed sense of self-identity and deliverance. Keep that in mind. So he's down at the pool Bethesda. There are 5 colonnades around the pool, and the number 5 stands for renewed self-identity and deliverance. Let's move on. So here we are at verse 3. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie. He names the disabled people, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. So I looked up the meaning of blind, lame, and paralyzed because we all know what disabled means, but for some reason the writer decided to point out those 3. So I looked up the meaning of these 3 words. Blind means directionless. You lack direction. So down at this pool are the people that lack direction. Lame means unequipped. So down at this pool, there are the people with no direction and the people who are not equipped. And then third, the paralyzed. Paralyzed means stuck. So down by this pool that is surrounded by a renewed sense of self-identity and deliverance, the people that are directionless, unequipped, and stuck are down at this pool. Let's keep going. So there was one down by the pool, we're at verse 5, that had been an invalid, disabled for 38 years. What does the number 38 mean? The spiritual meaning of 38 means to harness the power to heal your own trauma. Selah. Verse 6, when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, Jesus asked the disabled man, will you be healed? I feel like Jesus was a smart ass, because if I would have saw you right there by the pool and you ain't got in there, it is up to you. Where is your willpower? Will you be healed? I mean, you done made it all the way down here. You right by the water. And now you got excuses. Let's see what the man said to Jesus. So this man looks at the Jesus and says, sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. I can't stand him. Like, I wouldn't have healed him. Full transparency. But anyway, so then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. Those were 3 instructions. Let's break those down real quick. Now, Jesus told the man, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. So I had to break that down. I was like, okay, what did he mean by get up? I looked it up. Get up means to make a decision. Jesus is saying, get up, okay? Make a decision. Next is pick up your mat. Now, y'all know me. I felt like this was like pick up your shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, pick it up and do what you need to do. But when you pick that stuff up, when you pick up the humiliation, when you pick up the guilt, when you pick up the shame, how can you use that to God's glory? When you pick it up, how are you going to use it now? You're no longer going to allow it to control the way you feel, and you're no longer going to allow it to control the way you live your life. So how can you use it? What do you do now? When he says pick up your pick up your mat. He's saying, pick up your shit and now renew your mind. Use your MPA to figure out, how can I use this to glorify God? What part of this can I take and then use it to build a better life, a better me, a better family, a better job, a better purpose? What can I use of this? This is some good stuff. And then walk. Walk, y'all. Just the definition of walk is to move with discipline. So first, you got to get up, make your decision, right? Then secondly, you got to pick up your mat. You got to pick up your shit, examine it, figure out how you can use that to renew your mind and see it in a new way that's going to bless you and the people around you. And last, move with discipline. When he say walk, that is move with discipline. So when you're in step 2, picking up your shit and examining that thing and figuring out how you can use. If you can't figure it out, bro, there's therapy for that. There are other books you can read outside of ours. A good one is Anatomy of the Spirit by Dr. Caroline Myss. There's also Dark Night of the Soul by Dr. Thomas More. So if you don't want to go to therapy, then read your way through this shit. It may take you a couple years. You may need some time, but read your way through your shit. Examine your shit so you can figure out what God wants you to use to bless yourself, your family, and his people. So once the disabled man made the decision, renewed his mind, and moved with discipline, verse 9 says, at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. So if we make a decision and we renew our mind and decide to move with discipline, create a strategy when you're picking up your shit and renewing your mind, and then taking that strategy and walking it out with discipline, we're healed. Like, that's the way you heal. It's as simple as trying to lose weight. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're eating a whole bunch of sugar and carbs, of course you're not going to lose weight. But if you become intentional and you strategize and you decide, I'm not going to be an emotional eater no more. I'm not going to eat after this time anymore. I'm going to work out. I'm going to put more greens in my diet. As soon as you start moving in discipline, following the strategy you made when you were picking up the fact that, okay, my blood pressure be high. So that means I'm eating wrong. Because when I eat right, my blood pressure never up. So I just need to make the decision to eat right, figure out things to eat that don't feel like punishment. Like, sometimes certain things just feel like punishment. Oatmeal feels like punishment. I want some motherfucking grits. I want the butter, the sugar, the salt, the pepper, all of it. Put it in there. I want the grits. I don't want the oatmeal. The oatmeal feels like punishment. But oatmeal may be the very thing with a little fresh fruit thrown in it that's going to save me, that's going to make me healthy. Why do I choose the things that are not going to help me when I know the things that will help me? Because of the excuses we make, right? Like, I'm not going to pick the oatmeal. I'm going to pick the grits because I'm going to be like, I worked a hard week. These people got on my nerves today. I deserve a treat. But if the treat is killing you, is it a treat? And that's what it is like with this man. You got all the way to the pool and now you let the excuses stop you. Now you say, well, I have nobody to help me. Or when I try to get there, somebody jumps in front of me. Like, we all have our own excuses. You can tailor those excuses to your own mind and your own situation, right? But we all give ourselves a pass. And this man had been giving himself a pass. And Jesus came along and said, you don't get no more pass. Make a decision. Renew your mind. Come up with your strategy. What can you use? And now move in discipline. And you're cured. Ta-da! It's magic. Right? So skipping down, Jesus then healed the man. He then walked off. The Jewish leaders then told him that he wasn't supposed to be healed on the Sabbath. Who did this? The man didn't know. So later on in the temple, Jesus saw the man again. We down at verse 14. And he said, see, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. And I was like, wow, some more instructions from Jesus. Let's break them down. When Jesus saw him again in the temple and he said, look, you are well again. Like, I really wish I had time to break that down. And he said, stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. So I looked through that and I was like, stop sinning. So I looked up the word, I'm like, what does this mean? And so stop sinning means Jesus was saying, don't let your excuses control you. Stop letting, he's like, look, you are well again. So don't let your excuses control you again. Stop letting the little narratives that you tell yourself control you. One of my little narratives is I can't lose weight. That is one of my little narratives. One of my little narratives is you won't have a baby. Like, stop. Or something far worse may happen to you. Well, you know what? If you keep thinking those things and you keep saying these things, then you become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your body and your mind can only go in the direction of your thoughts. So if your mind can only, and your body can only go in the direction of your thoughts, you're going to become that self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to become exactly what you think. So how do we change that? How do we make sure that we're able to take our thoughts in the direction we want to go? Okay, first thing, you've got to make a decision. You've got to get up. You've got to make the decision that my thoughts are going to line up with the trajectory that God has for my life. So that means if God says I'm more than a conqueror, my thoughts need to line up with I'm more than a conqueror. I can overcome anything today. I can take on, tackle, and take down anything today. That should be the thought. So first thing you got to do is make your decision. Next thing is you got to renew your mind. You've got to tell yourself what you're going to think, and then you need to identify what you're not going to think. So when the thing you've identified that you don't want to think tries to come in, you have that gatekeeper now. You've put it in place. We're not thinking that today. We're sticking with I'm more than a conqueror. We're sticking with I can do all things. We're not going to what I can't do. I can't lose the weight. I can't have the baby. We're not thinking about that today. We're thinking about what I can do. I can lose the weight. If I just get up and work out, I can lose the weight. If I eat right, I can lose the weight. So stay on that trajectory. Now it's time to walk. We've got to move with discipline. Take your strategy. Figure out your strategy. Use the rest of the week to figure out what's my strategy for moving myself from glory to glory. What's the strategy I'm going to use this week to lose 2 pounds? What's the strategy I'm going to use this week to become better at making videos? What's the strategy I'm going to use this week to become better at my job and be better to the people I train and take care of? What can I do? It's time to take these 3 instructions and start changing our lives. So now that we've broke down John 5, I want to ask you today, right now, will you be healed? Will you stop using your excuses to hold you back? Will you stop allowing emotional responses to things when you could use your mental response to do something greater? All you've got to do is make a decision, renew your mind, and move in discipline. Will you be healed? Will you? Think about that today. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it, and I'll see you tonight for book club.